New Skin, the utopia a couple of miles away. We see it characterized as though these people live on Mars. But what really happens behind these walls? Is it like our movies? A bunch of mind-controlled vegetarians? Or could it be a utopia? Welcome to New Skin. Ever since this city-state cleanly broke off from the rest of the US in 2012, no one has been allowed inside. Until me, thanks to an allowance from the government. New Skin was an experiment namely in green technology. Over the last 100 years, it has changed from this to this. This is her utopia, as well as the 100,000 people that live with her.
Welcome to New Skin!
The land changed more rapidly than anyone could have predicted. Old infrastructure still remains, though, even after this 100-year period. All supplies and resources are grown here locally. No outside shipments or contact at all. Information is accumulated through the internet and local libraries. Here, knowledge is king, thanks to a great education system as well as the multiple resources that are at everyone's fingertips. That has so many critics of this society wondering, if they learn so much of this outside world that they're not allowed to venture to, why do they stay? Is there something we're missing? Everyone that we interviewed has grown up in this experiment and has no memory of the adjustment. So some brief history is, in 2010, wearable tech became the buzzword in the development industry. We could now be attached to tech in every aspect, whether it was on our wrists, in our ears, in our clothes, and eventually with a thanks to famous inventor Chris Skinner, in our brains. We all wanted to be constantly connected. This tech, combined with the ecological and financial crisis in 2010, had people out of work and wanting to save the planet. So much hard work was put into the government to try and end environmentally harmful practices like fracking and industrialized farming. This was the first time in radicalized American history that we saw all sides working together to end climate change. It was viewed as a real threat. However, they received backlash. People were losing jobs in droves, which only perpetuated the already hurt economy. Some of the greatest thinkers got together to brainstorm a better way. They needed to move with caution as to not make decisions without the consequences they had already felt, but now was the time to act. They thought of an idea all stemming around that little chip in most of our brains already. A society completely self-sufficient, self-ruling, and, most of all, busy. How it would work was a council would be made of individuals living in an isolated suburb. This council would determine what was essential functions of society. From employment to free time, everyone's lives in the society would be planned down to the minute. Now, it's important to stress that this plan could be deviated from. No one was forced to do anything. You could always substitute an item as well as take as many sick days that you wanted. However, if you did use the chip and model made by the suburb council, you would achieve ultimate satisfaction in life. That was what they were selling, from financial to personal. Your free time would be used to educate yourself about life and the environment. You would never have to worry that you were falling behind because you just did your daily tasks. And the most prominent feature that scientist Skinner was excited about was the buzz. The buzz is completely optional, but for those inside of the civilization who want to work hard but struggle with motivation, they can opt into getting a mild electric shock that, while painful, is very motivational. It gets people out of bed and back on schedule. Business was what everyone wanted. It was easy to sell. They proposed this idea to the American people, a suburb that has no crime, no premature death, no unemployment, complete financial security, and you get to claim and go down in history as a soldier against the war of climate change. Quickly, thousands of eager Americans signed up. With poverty rates at an all-time high in America, even passing Great Depression levels, Americans enter the lottery. And soon, the 100,000 Americans were chosen. Good thing was nothing had to be built. So Americans' government officials at the time made a lot of comments on how most of what was happening was not costing the taxpayers any harm. People had a place to live, a place to go shopping, and the only thing that really needed to be changed was a wall, was slowly and methodically erected outside the city. The thought being, if this is really an experiment, all things need to be controlled. The rhetoric in this society was, they are soldiers against climate change. And boy, were these people eager to fight. In the early years, there was a lot of strife. In a community of 100,000 people, they needed to learn how to be self-sufficient for the first times in their lives. Going back to settler days, and we look at those early online manuals, the good first thing they did was find farmland because they knew they were not getting outside shipments to fill up those grocery stores. What followed for the next 20 years really remains a mystery to us on the outside. All we know is more than half the population died in that first 20 years. It's been 80 years since the adjustment period ended, and we don't really know what truly happened. A lot of information seemingly gets into Nu Skin, but not a lot comes out. This is due to the lack of free time individuals in Nu Skin have. We knew this before going in, that brain chip was controlled by a central committee inside, but it was scary how much the mind control narrative really didn't bother those inside. This is Julie. She is who we followed around inside. Her job is a beekeeper, and she's a part of the council. Humans were more productive here.
Actually, Nu Skin is the most productive city in the world.
This is true. Nu Skin, even though it had a more positive ecological effect, really was an experiment on human productivity, and at least they seem to know that.
We are part of the land. We get most of our food from our garden, and we get things like eggs and fabric from the local farmers market.
What about meat? Is everyone here vegetarian?
I am. I think most of us are, because we are the ones that are responsible for killing, so it's not super popular.
Julie was a proud member of the Buzz community, which from our measurements is around half of the population. We caught up with her after work. So what would you usually be doing right now?
I'd either be reading or probably playing tennis, some kind of exercise.
What is your usual go-to read?
Skin usually recommends for me government books, so I've been reading a lot of those. But when I really want to get crazy, I'll read an Outlaw book, usually comedy from somebody Outlaw.
Outlaw. That's what they call Americans. Skin is like Siri to us, a smart technology. You can kind of see it imprinted in your brain thanks to the chip that's been implanted. Julie is one of the 100 people on the council. Along with her beekeeper duties, she explained to me how the council worked. To be honest with me, how chaotic is it that 100 people in a room with a bunch of different ideas are just yelling at each other?
Oh, it's not chaotic at all, really. We've all known each other since we were kids. Basically, we just took over our parents' position.
Is it a vote system, like majority rules?
Oh, no, we don't really vote. We just think if we come up with the right solution, and eventually everybody will come on board. I have stayed in that council room for weeks at a time because the issue we are trying to solve is complicated. Like, for example, recently there was discussions of changing a Nu Skin only law, which is no littering. The problem with the law is how matter-of-fact it was. And thanks to our camera systems, even if you accidentally littered, you were immediately exiled from the community. Many lost loved ones this way, but I argued that if you were living your life focused, you could never make such a silly mistake like this. I mean, everyone had been taught at an early age to clean up after themselves, so I don't really see the issue.
Oh, so I wasn't aware people ever left Nu Skin, even for punishment.
Oh, yeah, people leave all the time. The line to the door is always pretty crowded, but usually the bus system kicks in and tells people to get back.
Well, only for the people that opt into it, right?
Yeah, I guess this isn't really talked about much, but our leader, Luke, in 2050 made a law that everyone has the fail-safe buzz on for emergencies. It was after the deadly hurricane, so everyone on the council found it necessary because it was the fastest way to communicate a message.
So everyone can be buzzed?
Yeah, I love it. I probably get buzzed 10 times a day. It keeps me on track. I'm very productive.
So, Julie, sorry. If people can leave any time, why do they get buzzed when they go to the door?
I've never tried to leave. Why would I want to leave? But I hear it's the buzz that shows images of your world. That and the buzz really make people want to stay.
Everything Julie was telling me came as a big shock. I no longer viewed this as a utopia. The conspiracy theorists in America were right. This could be hell. I took some time to look at the laws, which are easy to locate anywhere online or even just plastered up on buildings. They may seem simple, but well, see for yourself. It reads, idle hands are the devil's tools. All American laws from 2010 are applicable. No stealing, no killing, no drugs, no hiding from surveillance, no littering, no turning off emergency bus. Failure to follow these rules result in dismissal from town. What does dismissal really mean? I began to wonder. So Julie, would you agree you're really not 100% free?
I see where you're going with this, but really and truly, I love it here. Yes, I don't know the alternative, but life is so blissful and easy. I know what I'm going to do today, tomorrow, and for the next 50 years, and I'm excited about it. Yes, people still annoy me, or there's little disputes here and there, but Skinner solved humanity's problems.
While I was in town, a picture formed in my mind different to the image I had before coming. I now understood how this society functions. I will explain it as clearly as I can. This society is completely self-sufficient. It has not received anything from America since 2012. They have built this society to be completely fulfilled by agriculture and environmental sciences. That is how the class system is split up. At the top, you have the council members who often work as farmers. This was an unintended consequence of valuing farmers above all else in the society. Then, second, you have scientists kind of making up a middle or upper middle class. They spend all day in labs and try and find the most efficient ways to use the renewable resources in society. And last and lowest, you have the working class. They're the ones that build and sell. These are construction workers and grocery store employees. They get less of a salary because they work less hours. Oh, yeah, something else super interesting about this society? Every single person gets paid $50 an hour. This was instilled to upkeep the original promises of the founders that Skinner created. So if everyone gets paid the same amount of money, how is their different class structure enforced? It goes back to the idea of idle hands being lesser in this society. Those who are in the working class work less hours because there's only so much sunshine in the day and how many hours that people are going to be allowed to go into the shops and buy things. This means free time is advanced, and they become lesser in society than those on the council and scientists who fuel society. Workers, even though they have essentials to live, are categorized as having less of a lifespan and often are looked down upon in society because they are idle. Their health is worse because they have less exercise and access to resources than council members and scientists have. Even though this society mimics that of American capitalistic economy, they have a poverty rate of 0% because they have managed to incentivize work that only helps themselves. They are only acting locally, and not a dime of money or energy is devoted to a cause outside these walls. That is definitely thanks to the collective culture that's been established since the beginning. When nearing the end of my stay, I had one more question for Julie, and I thought it might get us in trouble, so I tried to be more discreet. Julie, is there any way that people are getting killed instead of dismissed? She refused to answer my question about death, but I pushed further.
Whenever you're ready. It's usually the workers that want to leave. They're on the bottom of the totem pole. But wouldn't you rather be on the bottom here than out there?
I learned that not everyone was vegetarian like we thought, and I also learned there might be a darker side that no one was even considering. I left the same way I came in, through the door, empty just like when I came in. I made more mental notes this time, though. Why was it so empty if Julie said that it was often crowded? And it could have been from exhaustion of my week-long trip or even some paint that had been splashed on the ground, but I swear I saw blood on the tile when I left. After I left, I went into hiding to create this documentary you were watching, because even though I went in under the veils of American government, I will remain in hiding in order to show you my non-biased look into society we have been told is what we should model our lives after. A society where productivity is currency, where a monarchist government system works under the false veil of democracy. No one is elected or appointed. It's all birthright and an insider's club. Yes, no one is a slave to the majority, but slave to one ideology nonetheless. And yes, maybe that water glistened a little cleaner and the trees were more full, but the media is all propaganda. You constantly hear the relaxing ukulele of the national anthem playing constantly.
Welcome to New Skin. Your happiness will soon begin. This perfect society is safe for you and me. Thanks to the lottery, we can trust our biology. Come join the fight, and the earth will prove us right.
People have religious freedom, like in the United States in 2012. Yes, there is no inherent racism or sexism, but what we do see instead is a different way to segregate a community, not by the color of their skin, but by their intelligence. We do not see art here. The only art is that of copies from worlds past and from America. None is created there. Creativity is only helpful for scientists, and if it's not, it's seen like a waste. I am proud to be an American, but this experiment will eventually go down as a mark of abuse of what unbridled power and trust can do to a society. Have we not trusted the government in 2010 to run this experiment, we would not be standing idly by while humans are getting murdered for littering. I will stay in hiding to promote this message, and all I can hope is for change. Help these people because they don't know they need to be helped.
This perfect society is safe for you and me. Thanks to the lottery, We can trust our biology. Come join the fight, and the earth will prove us right.